Hey guys, it's Marty and welcome to Two Line Slot Cars. This week I finally opened up my soldering station. And so this is going to be a quick review of the X-Tronic 3000 series soldering station that you find on Amazon. I think I paid $59 for it, and we're going to do a little bit of soldering on camera. How about that, George? So let's get to it. So guys, got the new soldering station. I got it set up, sort of have my chassis ready to solder some parts on, and I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough. This was a very inexpensive soldering station, 75 watts. It was $59 on Amazon, and I'm super impressed with it. I haven't soldered anything yet. I do want to shout out to George at Area 51, Michael Squire, Danny Wiley, and a host of others that have attempted to try to help me learn how to solder. And I just don't know if I'm going to ever be good at this. But hey guys, I'm interrupting this video just to say that after I had recorded this video, Rob from Swift Slots reached out to me and offered me a lot of tips when it comes to soldering, how to maintain the tip, how to build your own. Just gave me some great knowledge. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. I appreciate it. It really means a lot that you'd reach out to help. And that's what I love about this community. So back to Marty not being able to solder very well. Let's give it a try. Let's take a look at the soldering station. I'll do a quick walkthrough. We'll try to get some soldering done on this land barge chassis and see where it goes. So let me switch over to the phone camera so you can see the soldering station. So let me kind of move it here into view. Move my microphone a little bit. So it's got a holder for your solder, which I didn't think I was going to put on, but I went ahead and installed it anyway and threw the solder up there. And it's actually kind of a convenient place to keep your solder. Imagine that. It does have a cleaning sponge on this side. And what I figured out is you always have to keep the tip clean. And then back here, it's kind of hard to see, is a little thing of soldering tip cleaner. And it's basically just like this. It's the brass brush, only it's got a little bit of rosin in the bottom of it, rosin flux. And so we'll use that to keep the tip clean. I have got the chisel tip on the soldering iron. I've already prepped the tip, and it takes solder really well. So we'll do it right here. You can see it takes solder really well. So a good tip. Now it came with like 6 extra tips, some different shapes and sizes. But for the chassis building, I think this is the one I will end up using most of the time. Go ahead and clean that tip. It's got a nice little holder, very convenient, nice long cable. You can convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. I'm running the iron at 600 degrees, 601 to be exact. Very easy to set. One thing I did notice, this iron heats up really, really fast. So it was probably ready to solder in about 30 seconds from the time I turned it on. I'm super impressed with that. It does have a couple of helping hands. I was not going to install those, but I ended up because, you just never know. Maybe they come in handy. And it also came with and I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with that yet, but this could be handy. Heat resistance up to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. So very easy station to set up. It's super small. Doesn't take up a lot of space. It'll live here on my bench. So now what I think I'm going to try to do is I'm going to attempt to solder the chassis. And I have cleaned the chassis. So it should be prepped and ready, the brass. So let's put some flux on. Let's see if we can do this. So I'm going to put some solder on. And I've got a little wood dowel so I can hold this down. And we'll see what we can do. I'll put it on here until I can see it flow. A little more solder. Okay, I think it's a little sloppy, but I think I had to figure out what temperature to run this thing at. And so I actually turned it up from 600 to 800. And I really started to see the solder flow. Again, not super happy with how the soldering job turned out. Yeah, that solder's flowing now. Clean the tip. Nice and clean. Put it back in the stand. Now this does have an auto sleep. So after 10 minutes of not using the iron, it will put it to sleep. And that's okay because it warms up so fast. So not the prettiest soldering job, but I think it will get better now that I figured out what temperature this needs to be at. So I'm running this at 800. I don't know what the max temp is. 896. So I'm running it at 800, and it really, the solder finally flowed. So that is a quick review. Holy cow, that was so much easier once I figured out the temperature. So that is the key, is figuring out how to get, what temperature does your iron need to be set on to get the solder to flow. So we'll let that cool, we'll get it cleaned up, and we'll get started on the rest of this chassis. So pretty happy to have the soldering station. Pretty impressed with how well it worked once I got the temperature right. So that is key. The solder needs to flow. So instead of testing it on a chassis, I probably should have just tested it on a couple pieces of brass scraps that I have and kind of go from there. That probably would have been better. But you live and you learn. So guys, that is the X-Tronic 3000 series. Its model number is actually 3020. I'll put a link in the description to Amazon. If you are in need of a soldering station for the price, you get a lot of accessories. You get a whole spool of the right kind of solder that you need for soldering chassis. The only thing I'm struggling to find is the Stay Clean acid flux. And it says right in the instructions that you shouldn't use these tips with acid flux. That's why it's important to keep them clean. You know, there's lots of soldering videos out there. This was really just to talk about the soldering station. Would I recommend it? Yes. Once I figured out the temperature, I think this is going to be a great soldering station that will last me a long time, as long as I take good care of it. Pretty simple video this week, but we're working on the land barge. I'm pretty excited about that. Now I can get this chassis done. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, hit the bell so you get notified anytime I put out content. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you learned a little bit. Great soldering station for the price. Now, there's some cheaper ones out there. I'm running this at almost max temperature, and that was at 75 watts. I think the wattage is how fast it can cycle and reheat. That's important. So I think you want either that 60 or 75 watt minimum when you're out there shopping for a soldering station. So again, I'm still learning. So thanks for learning with me. Guys, go have some fun racing.